Hey there YouTube, Hopper here. It's Saturday, August the 15th, and I thought today we'd do something a little bit different. Today, let's take a look at my manga collection, because apparently I haven't done a video on that in 9 years, and if you've watched the channel recently, you know I've done a lot of anime unboxings, so I thought maybe you'd like to see all the books I have. So, let's take a look, because there are quite a lot. And if you're wondering how much a lot is, well, it's at least 750 books. Mostly manga, a couple of non-manga titles mixed in here and there, and I say about 750 because not everything has an ISBN number, which makes it a little harder to keep track of. But we have a lot of shelves to go through today. And they're alphabetized. So, we'll start at the beginning. So, very first book is one that any Makoto Shinkai fan should have on their shelf. It's the classic 5 centimeters per second. If you know Makoto Shinkai and you don't know 5 centimeters per second, I'm disappointed in you, because you really should know. It's probably his best known older film, before he really became a big name with the huge success that Your Name was. We also have 5 centimeters per second, One More Side. I haven't read this yet, which is why it has a bookmark sticking out here. This is how I denote anything I haven't read yet. We'll see if it's just as good as the original was. I have no idea. After that, we have Excel World, and if you're wondering why it's just one volume, it's probably because, let's see, was this Goodwill, or was this from Powell's? It's probably Goodwill. If I see a title that's a decent price and I might be interested in, or was interested in previously, I'll rescue it and put it on my shelf. Next up we have Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. Haven't read this yet, but the preview of it was pretty good. After that, we have a rather controversial one right now, and that's Volume 1 of Act Age. Yeah, so the author of this got arrested in Japan for lewd activity, and it's canceled now. Which is too bad, because it was a really promising series. We'll see what happens there. After that, we have Aho Girl, which has the subtitle of A Clueless Girl in English. Aho is kind of Japanese slang for idiot. You're probably more familiar with the term baka, especially if you've watched Evangelion in Japanese. Haven't read this yet. We'll see if that's any good. After that, we have The Alchemist Who Survived, also a title I haven't read yet. We're off to a really good start, aren't we? But the preview of this was pretty promising, so we'll see how that goes. Idolmaster Break. I think this was a book off title that was like, what, $3 probably? Yay, look at that, exactly, $3. Liked the Idolmaster anime that was on Crunchyroll many years back. Haven't read that because it's in Japanese, so I have no idea if it's any good. After that, we do have a very good series, though, which is, of course, The Ancient Magus' Bride. The manga is actually still going, and I don't know where I left off. I'm probably somewhere around volume 7 or maybe 9, but I do believe 10, 11, 12 aren't actually in the anime. Then we have some of the supplemental materials and light novels. After that, we have Angelic Layer from Clamp, volumes 3 and 4, probably because these were from Goodwill at like 50 cents a piece. Haven't read it. I'm not going to start at volume 3 because that just doesn't make any sense. After that, we have Another. This is actually the novel, but Another is a really, really great horror series. It's also an anime on Crunchyroll, or at least I think they still have the rights to it. Really good watch, maybe a little less so if you're squeamish, because it gets a little gruesome, I'll warn you now. We have Appleseed after that, haven't read because it's volume 2, but saw a movie of it, ages ago because it was a library rental. I don't even remember which one it was, but the movie was okay. It's probably another one I got from Goodwill because it's cheap. After that, we have Aria the Masterpiece. I haven't read any of these yet because I was waiting for the full anime to come in. It's done. I haven't started watching it yet because I have so much more in my backlog, but I'll get to this eventually because the anime was a Kickstarter from Right Stuff. We'll see if it's any good. And then we have one volume in Japanese because that was at Powell's and it was cheap enough that it was just like, sure, let's add it to the shelf. We have Assassination Classroom after that. I really should get the full series of this at some point because it's a really, really, really good series. We have Astro Lost in Space, also an excellent series. I haven't read the manga, but the anime on Funimation was excellent. Haven't finished the dub, but I really should because kudos to Funimation for casting Kieran Strange, who, if you don't know, is transgender and plays a character in the series that's intersex, so I think good casting decision on that. Nice one. Following that, we have Azumanga Daioh. Nice slice of life series. It's an easy read. It is by the same author that does Yotsuba. So, hilarious, very easy read. And then after that, we have the beginning of one hell of a manga series, which of course is Black Butler, and I will stop trying to be British because I am terrible at it. But this is an amazing, amazing series. And if you've only seen the anime, definitely pick up the manga because it goes so much longer than the anime has with its very weird seasons. Like, the first season doesn't even go halfway through the series. This is still going, by the way, and I haven't read the latest one, which I really need to, because, does it get spicy around here. It's excellent. We have Blackjack, which of course is a classic by Osamu Tezuka, who you might better know as the same author as Astro Boy, or mangaka that did Astro Boy. Very good series, by the way. We have a couple of the Japanese volumes, which I haven't read or taken a look at, but I suspect it's about the same as what you got going on there. After that, we have a whole bunch of books that I haven't read yet. First one being Blank Canvas, which is by the same mangaka that did Princess Jellyfish, which was a really good series. So I'm hoping this one's good. Because one of her other series, Tokyo Tarareba Girls, which we'll see once we get this way in shelving, started good, didn't end that great. And honestly, I'm probably going to sell that one back to Pal. So hopefully this is better, because it's supposed to be kind of a autobiography from what I hear. Bloom Into You, it's a Yuri series. I haven't read it. I picked it up because the anime was well rated, so we'll see. Haven't seen the anime either. Same logic applies to Boarding School Juliet, which I have volume 5 of, which I've just been picking up as it's been available used at Powell's, because used is quite a lot cheaper than new. After that, Bodacious Space Pirates, great series. It's an older series. It's probably one that's not really terribly well known. When it came out, the alternative English title unofficially was Miniskirt Pirates Palooza, or something like that, but it's a good series. It's very fun, and very funny. After that, we have one of the light novels of the Haruhi Suzumiya series. This is the first one, The Boredom of Haruhi Suzumiya. Following that, we have The Bride Was a Boy. I should really get around to reading this, because this sounded very interesting. It's a transgender story, so no idea if it's any good. It sounded good. Find out eventually. Very good title after that, though, which is A Bride Story by Karu Mori. This is beautifully, beautifully drawn. It's done entirely by hand, with pen. Really, really stunning art in this. I will have to give you one warning, though, which I did not know. The scenes in this are incredibly detailed, no matter what you're reading. And that includes some scenes where they go full nude. So, really good title. Really, really detailed. Maybe not the best thing to bring to work or while you're on public transport, because, yeah, there's no warning that just appears. But it's a really good title. Pick it up. It's great. After that, we have Bunny Drop. And I don't have this completed because this is out of print. It's an older series. I thought it was good. It got kind of controversial. The anime does not cover the full manga, so if you've only seen the anime, you probably don't know why it is controversial. But I think it's good. And I don't have the complete series because when I last was collecting this was almost 10 years ago now at Drexel University in Philly, and I actually donated my copies to Drexel's Haggerty Library. And yes, fun fact, it is pronounced Haggerty, not Haggerty. It's William Walsh Haggerty, which you would know if you ever worked in the archives like me. But if you're interested in it, and you go to Drexel, and whenever they open, my copy should still be there, as far as I know. After that, Clamp's classic, the one that anybody who knows Clamp should definitely know. It is, of course, Cardcaptor Sakura. We have the Omnibus Dark Horse collections there. We have Volume 1 in Japanese as well. And we have Volume 2 and 6. And these are actually rather cool, because these are bilingual. This is actually in Japanese and English by Ringu, right there. Eventually, I'll read the bilinguals, just for kicks. And then, of course, we have the second arc of Cardcaptor Sakura, Clear Card arc. This is an interesting book that I haven't read yet. This is the celebration of Haruhi Suzumiya, where, as far as I know, it's actually several different artists kind of doing a tribute to the Haruhi series. So, this should be good, because the series was definitely good. This is probably high up on my to-read eventually list. Following that, we have Cells at Work. This is another bilingual release in English. Haven't read it, haven't seen the series. I've heard it's really, really good. Eventually, I do hope to get to it. Following that, we have A Certain Scientific Railgun, which is actually a spin-off of A Certain Scientific Index, in case you didn't know that. I haven't seen Index. I started watching it once and wasn't super thrilled with it. I probably should go back and actually watch that, because Railgun's great. Index is probably pretty good too. Next, kind of sticking out here, we have an art book from Chayama Rusuke. This you won't find anywhere anymore, because this was from the Time of Eve Kickstarter several years ago now. But it's a nice piece to have in the collection. I was an idiot when I did my first of the wall shelves from IKEA and didn't measure so great, so it sits like that. Yeah. Pro tip, measuring and lining up really helps when you put wall shelves in. Also, extra support if you get a long one. Yeah, don't be me. Do your wall shelves right. Second one's much better. Following that, we have another Clamp series. We have Chobits, which apparently, I didn't know until I walked into Kinokuniya the other day, is getting re-released for the 20th anniversary. Apparently it's 20 years old now. So if you haven't read it, you have a new chance, because this originally was a Tokyo Pop release. Tokyo Pop went out of business, is back in business, but they don't have the rights to it anymore. It's now released by Kodansha. And then we have a Chobits art book, which we'll kind of skip looking at because it gets a little racy in there. Another Yuri series, Citrus. I've only actually seen one episode of the anime. Eventually I will continue with that and see if it is any good. These were all bought used from Powell's. Following that, we have City, which is the second series, maybe third, because I don't know how many are actually in Japanese, from Keiichi Arterui. But it is the same mangaka that did Nichijou, or as it's known in English, My Ordinary Life. Nichijou was great. City's been pretty good. Nichijou was better. And then, of course, all hair Lelouch, we have Code Geass, which unfortunately is still out of print because it was a Bandai title and no one's picked it back up. So, incomplete. I've been slowly collecting that from Powell's. Great anime. No idea if the manga's any good because I haven't actually read the manga. First title, that's not a manga, but a comic, Coffee Gives Me Superpowers, which was a collaboration done with the Oatmeal. So this should probably be good. Haven't read this either. Another Yuri series that I haven't read, The Conditions of Paradise. This was a recommendation from Kinokuniya's Bookweb. We'll see if it's any good. Preview was promising enough. Then we have the Cowboy Bebop manga, which is interesting because it does not follow the anime. If you can find a copy of this and you like Cowboy Bebop, definitely pick it up. It's very good. Then we have more, not manga, but comic, Cyanide and Happiness, which is a webcomic. This was from back in the day when there were 4 of them working on it, Chris, Rob, Matt, and Dave. I think it's only 3 of them now. I have no idea what they're up to these days because I kind of stopped following it. But if you want to get a sense of just how old this is, that's right. That's a Borders sticker on it. Following that, Dead Man Wonderland. Excellent, excellent series. Haven't read the manga. Well, actually, I think I read a couple volumes of this ages ago. The anime is pretty good. I believe Bones animated it. It gets gory. I'll warn you there, but it's good. Demon Slayer. Don't ask me about it because I haven't read it. But the hype on it's strong, and I wasn't going to say no to getting it used at Powell's. So if it's no good in my opinion, it'll go back to Powell's. Hopefully that doesn't happen because I did invest in 7 volumes of it. Devil is a Part-Timer. Excellent, 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 excellent series. Arguably it's an isekai before isekai was really a genre, but oh man, this is good. And it's a shame that the anime never went any further than it did, and it came out when it did, because apparently the anime is really not well known. But this is a great, great series. The gist of it is the devil reincarnates as, essentially kind of a high school student, but not. Well, in the spin-off he definitely does, but reincarnates in our world and works at not McDonald's because licensing. Following that, we have, didn't I say to make my abilities average in the next life? Which is an isekai. Which, if you don't even know what isekai is, I'm kind of amazed because, holy crap, that's all anime is these days. Basically, you're reincarnated in another world. I've only seen 2 episodes of it, but I liked that it was making fun of the genre, so I picked up the manga. Following that, we have another one of the light novels from the Haruhi series, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Forget where this actually fits in the light novel sequence because I alphabetized these, but the movie of this is amazing. Probably one of Kyoto Animation's best movies that they've ever done. We have Disgaea 2, haven't read it. Dot Hack, this is from my older collection. It's very, very good. I don't know how it holds up to the test of time because I haven't read this since I bought this. God, almost 20 years ago now. But it was good back then. Following that, we have Dreaming Sun, which I haven't read yet, but the reason I picked that up is because it's from the same author as Orange, which was a good series that I also didn't finish and need to finish. Following that, we have Durarara, Great series. Season 2 got a bit less great, though, but it was still pretty good. Following that, we have Emma, also from Karu Mori. I haven't read these yet because I'm waiting for the anime to come out. This was another Kickstarter from Right Stuff. I don't know how much longer I'm going to hold off on not reading it because, again, she is really, 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 really good at drawing stuff. Following that, we have Erased, which was another good series. Apparently this got very mixed reviews, though. I thought it was good. I would say it's worth a read. Aramanga Sensei, didn't finish it. It's kind of the sequel, but not, to Ori Imo. Yeah, should probably finish it at some point. One thing I definitely need to finish at some point, which I've had for so long, it still has one of my super old bookmarks in it. The Eureka 7 manga. Long out of print. Good luck finding this anywhere because it's so long out of print. It's such an old title, but it's a great, great mecha series. Fate Zero in Japanese, so I don't know where in this series timeline that actually falls into. After that, we have Flying Witch, great slice of life title. And then we have, I think actually the only complete series I own right now, because it's completed now, which is too bad because I thought it was very good. It's Food Wars. And if you've only watched the anime, I would definitely get the manga, because there's a lot more in the manga, and almost every single volume actually has a recipe for what they made, and they're actually really easy to follow, and really good. So, that starts there, and continues down here. So I've read up to volume 30, and need to finish it off. I don't know when I'm going to get to that, because I'm not ready for it to end, because it was good. But I should read it eventually. Also need to read this, For the Kid I Saw in My Dreams, same author as Erased, so I'm hoping it's good. And then, of course, we have Fruits Basket. How can you not? So happy it's getting a remake of the complete series now, which I've only seen 2 episodes of, so I don't know if it's any good. Haven't seen the classic one, even though I own it, but the manga was great. And, yeah, I've got it in various editions. Fruits Basket Another, which is the sequel. Haven't read that. Future Diary, or Mirai Nikki. This is an older series. I thought it was really good. I need to rewatch this because it was so good and I haven't seen it in ages. I also need to read it. We have The Garden of Words, probably one of Makoto Shinkai's lesser-known films. I believe this is the one that came out right before Your Name, so there's actually a very subtle nod to it in Your Name. It does help to read Japanese, though, but it's the restaurant that the male main character works at in Your Name. We have Ghost in the Shell, classic series. How can you not have that? Giant Spider and Me, haven't read it. I don't know why I bought that, because I actually hate spiders, but it was used and it was cheap at Powell's, so I got it. Girl from the Other Side. This has been a very interesting series, very detailed. Haven't gotten caught up, but it's been very good. I would say definitely pick it up if you like kind of weird. It's kind of post-apocalyptic, but not, but kind of medieval, but not. I really don't know where the heck this series is going, honestly, but it's good. Following that, another Yuri title that I haven't read yet, but was a recommendation from BookWeb, which is Goodbye My Rose Garden. Looked like a great series. I'm hoping it is, because I've bought up to volume 2. This, God, I really wish it would go back into print so much, because this was an anime that I loved so much that when I was in Australia, I brought the Australian release of the anime over here to the US because it got stuck in licensing limbo. Thankfully, Funimation's picked it up now and you can see it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's great. It's an older title. It's a Bones title. It's really good, I think. I really wish someone would pick up the rights to the novel again, because I was amazed that I could actually get my hands on this. I had a used book alert on this at Powell's for almost 3 years before I got it, and I can't believe that I paid under $100 for it, because volumes 2 and 3 typically are $100 or more. It's super difficult to find. Following that, we have Slinger Girl, which I believe is also out of print. Funny background with this, as far as I'm concerned, because many years ago I started watching the anime on Hulu, and I didn't really care for it, but I picked it up from the library, just because why the heck not, library free, and I actually liked it. So now I have 2 volumes of the manga. Hinamatsuri, haven't read yet, but is apparently really good. Horumiya, I think, is pretty good. It's still going. After that, we have Horu Musugo, which in English is Wandering Sun. This is another older title. I thought it was very, very good. Unfortunately, because it's out of print, it's extraordinarily difficult to get your hands on. The English release of it now, which is too bad because the English release is really well done, and we'll see that in a couple of minutes when we get to the other shelf. But essentially, it's a title about 2 main characters, anyway, in high school, a boy who wants to be a girl and a girl who wants to be a boy. So I think it's very good. Another Yuri title that I still haven't gotten to reading because I just picked it up recently, another recommendation from BookWeb, How Do We Relationship. We'll see if that's any good. How to Archer. I should probably read this because the TV series is great. I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up. Haven't read that either. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Haven't read it. Saw the movie. Movie was good. Ice Cream and Sadness. It's the second Cyanide and Happiness book. If I Could Reach You. Yet another title that's a Yuri that I haven't read. If It's For My Daughter, I'd Even Defeat a Demon Lord. Haven't read it. In This Corner of the World. I think I've read this. Maybe. But I do own the movie, and I have seen the movie. Really, 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 really good World War II title. Definitely read it. Definitely watch it. I believe this is actually on Netflix now, so definitely watch it. Inspectree. Haven't read it. Haven't watched it. The preview was good, though. Intrigues of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's another Haruhi light novel. Inu X Boko SS. Saw the TV series of this long ago. I barely remember it. Is it wrong to try to pick up dungeons or girls in a dungeon? No. It's a great series. Kaguya-sama Love is War. Haven't read the manga. Haven't finished the anime, but it's good. Kakegurui. Really good Netflix series. And actually the first series that I found on Netflix, that's only on Netflix, that I really enjoyed. Really, really good. Kazuya-san and Morning Glories. Another Yuri title that I haven't gotten around to. K-On! In Japanese. Kiki's Delivery Service. Which, yes, if you're only familiar with the movie, you might not know that it was originally a book. And it just got re-released in English with new illustrations and stuff. Keroro Gunso, or Sergeant Frog, another older title, which I think if you're new to anime and manga is a great starting point because it's hilarious. But some of the references in it are kind of old now. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. It was at Goodwill, why not? Kiss and White Lily for My Dearest Girl, used at Powell's. Why not? Haven't read it. Comey Can't Communicate. Also haven't read it. Picked it up because, boy, was it getting memed like crazy on the internet. So, who knows if it's any good. Konosuba, Explosions. That's all you need to know. Go watch it. Go read it. Go buy it. Enjoy it. It's great. Legal Drug. I don't remember if this was any good. It's probably one of Clam's lesser-known series. Lazatzi and the Witch's Forest. Haven't read that either. Little Witch Academia. This took a while to grow on me, actually. I didn't think the OVAs were that great, but the anime series on Netflix has actually been pretty good. Love Me for Who I Am. I have actually read this. Volume 1's been interesting. It's about a gender-neutral character who works in a maid cafe, where the other characters are what are known as otokonoko, or essentially cross-dressing males. Lupin the Third. It's a terrible loss that we lost to Monkey Punch, because this is a classic. Made in Abyss. Oh man, I do need to get caught up on this, because, whoo! Ooh, what a trip this series is. It was definitely very worthy of Anime of the Year a few years back, and I think it's been very interesting that it was a title that only was on Amazon Prime and really blew up after it won Anime of the Year, but absolutely deserved it. We have Magia Record, which is a spin-off of Madoka Magica. It was actually a mobile game originally. Haven't read it, haven't seen the series, but hey, it's a Madoka spin-off. Can it really be that bad? Magus of the Library, haven't read, need to get to because it looked promising. And at the very end of the first shelf, finally, we have Maid-sama. This was a good series, reading it. It's been a while since I've read it. Should probably rewatch it, because it was pretty good. And now on to the second shelf. And so yes, this I consider to be shelf 1, because of the 2 wall shelves. I don't really consider it a full bookcase. So, let's take a look at shelf number 2. I hope you're still with me, because I know this is going kind of long. But here's shelf number 2. First up, Mayo Chiki. Haven't read it, but it sounded promising. It was used at Powell's, so picked it up. We have, after that, another one of the Haruhi light novels, which is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is actually probably the first one now that I think about it, because that would make a lot more sense than starting at The Boredom of Haruhi Suzumiya. Which then brings us to The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, the manga series, which I really should eventually pick up the rest of, because it goes a lot longer than the anime did, and I think it's unfortunate that we probably won't get a season 3 just because of the horrific attack that Kyoto Animation had on their studio a year ago. And also because I think Season 2 bombed, mostly because of the Endless 8. Did you really have to do that, KyoAni? Why? But with the exception of the Endless 8, which thankfully is a lot shorter in the manga than it was in the anime, very good series. Really, 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 really good series. It's a classic. Definitely, I think, one that you should read and or watch. And it's so good that, as you can see, it's actually the longest series that I have the Japanese title counterparts to. I think probably most of these came from Book Off, which I really wish we had one here in Portland. That is something I miss about being closer to New York City. Now the ones that aren't from Book Off are probably from Kinokuniya, and I probably paid full price for them, which was probably really expensive back then. Oh well, we have a spin-off series following that, which is The Melancholy of Suzumiya Haruhi-Chan. Haven't read it, haven't watched it in full. I thought it was okay for what I had seen. Following that, we have a very interesting book here. This is Miku Di Nihongo, which I haven't really gone through, but should be interesting when I do eventually go through it in full. It's a couple of Hatsune Miku songs that have been translated into English, and this does actually teach you the Japanese based on the lyrics of the songs and stuff. I do believe this is only available in the US at Kinokuniya. And that being said, it is a bit pricey, and I don't know how good of a tool it would be for learning Japanese, but if you have like kind of a moderate interest in it, I'd say pick it up, especially if you like Vocaloid and Hatsune Miku, of course. Following that, we have the Mirai novel from Mamoru Hosoda. I think this is probably his most underrated film. I really think you should watch it. I haven't read the novel, though, to see how it compares to the film, but I thought it was good. I thought it was very interesting because I think it's kind of an autobiography in a sense. If you want to know more of my thoughts on this, it's one of the very few titles that I've actually given a formal review on my blog about, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you are interested in it. After that, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Haven't finished the anime, haven't really got into reading the manga, but it's a very good series. I need to finish it. After that, we have a very interesting series, I think, that's called My Brother's Husband. And one of the things that I think is a little interesting about Japan, especially as far as anime and manga goes, is there's the concept of Yuri and Yaoi, which Yuri is, female on female, Yaoi male on male. But in Japan, outside of anime and manga, the whole idea of being gay or otherwise non-conforming to, normal gender standards and all of that really isn't a tolerated thing. And so this is an interesting look into that. I haven't read Volume 2. I've read Volume 1, and it was really good. I'm expecting Volume 2 to be just as good. Yeah. It's in an interesting area, the whole BTQA, all of those in Japan, because, yeah, it's kind of taboo there. Moving along, My Hero Academia. You should probably know this title if you know anything at all about anime or manga. I mean, it's My Hero Academia. It's doing really well. Really, really, really well. That's about all you need to know about it. Moving on. My Lesbian Experiences with Loneliness. So it's been a very interesting title to read. It's one of the handful of titles from my collection that I do outright give a recommendation on my bookshelf at Powell's. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to see what of all the books I own that I recommend that you should really own. And if you want to get a copy, cool. Thank you for supporting a local bookstore here in Portland. But this was a very interesting read. I haven't read the follow-ups to it, which is My Solo Exchange Diary, but I suspect they'll be just as good. This I haven't read. I haven't seen the anime either, but I heard it was really good. It's My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. It's an isekai. That's about all I know about it. Napping Princess, haven't read it, haven't seen the movie. I've heard mixed things about it, so we'll see. Following that, we have, of course, Evangelion, which I need to finish the actual series of, as far as buying it goes, and actually reading it, because I don't think I've finished reading the manga to see how that is. It's Eva. That's what you need to know about it. These are the spin-offs. I haven't read Campus Apocalypse, so I don't know if that's any good, but the Shinji Ikari Raising Project, if you know anything about Eva, what I'm about to say is going to sound very odd to you. This is absolutely goddamn hilarious. And you really should own it. If you're an Eva fan. This takes place in an alternate arc of what could have happened at the end of Eva. That's as much as I can say without really spoiling it. But all you need to know is it is absolutely freaking hilarious. But if you don't know Eva, don't start here and then watch the anime or the movies or go back to the main series, because this will ruin it for you. But if you have been here, go here next and laugh your ass off. This is a great series. After that, we have New Game. I haven't read the manga, but the anime was great. So I should read these at some point. Then we have Nichijou, which is absolutely hilarious slice of life, both in the anime or the manga. You cannot go wrong either way. If you want something that's really easy to read or watch and to just constantly bust a gut at, Nichijou, My Ordinary Life. It's anything but ordinary. Go watch it. Go read it. Love it. After that, we have Nodame Cantabile, which I started reading at the library here, and then they pulled it, because apparently it wasn't popular enough to keep in circulation, which is too bad, because I thought it was a very good series. And I guess I'll eventually just have to scoop it up and read it. We have a couple of it in Japanese. After that, we have an interesting title that I should really read but haven't read. It's Not Your Idol. After that, we have Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season. I haven't seen the anime, but I did get into the manga because I heard the anime was great. The manga's been very good. So we'll see. Orange, as I mentioned before, I haven't finished. I should finish. But this is the title that came out before Dreaming Sun. After that, we have Ori Imo. It's a classic. I know the anime community has mixed thoughts on it. I thought it was good. There you have it. After that, other worldly Izakaya Nobu. This is a great slice of life series. It's not an isekai. Thank God. If you're sick and tired of isekai, because it's not. But it's worth a read. It's good. Our Wonderful Days. It's another Yuri title. Haven't read it, but the preview was good. Orin High School Host Club. It's great. It's really, really great. I would definitely recommend watching that or reading that at some point, because it's very good. After that, we have Perfect Blue, which I need to read and also get on disc, because this is a fantastic movie. But I don't know how the book is because I haven't read it. But I would assume it's just as good. The movie was done by Satoshi Kon, and if you know who that is, that's all you need to know. Following that, Princess Jellyfish. Very good series. In a nutshell, it's a cross-dressing guy works with a bunch of women to save their... God, I forget what the heck it translated to in English, but I think the Japanese concept of it is a share house. It's hilarious. That's all you need to know. Princess Knight, I haven't read, but there was no way in hell I was going to let this slip out of my hands at Powell's, because it's one of Tetsuka's more difficult to find series, apparently. But I don't know if it's any good or not. I would assume it's good because it's a Tetsuka. And these are volume 3 and 6 in bilingual. After that, Promised Neverland. Season 2 is coming next year. I cannot wait. Because I was reading this long before the anime came out and was hoping so very much for an anime series. So when it was announced, I was like, yes. And the anime has absolutely nailed it. Really, 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 really good series. I do think this is one of the ones that I have on PALs that I outright recommend that you own, because it is fantastic. I need a glass of water. But we're going to keep going, and I'll get that glass of water before we move on to shelf 3, because we still have 2 more shelves to go. So thanks for sticking with me. Psycho Pass. Super great series. I need to get the rest of the manga and see how it compares to the anime, because I thought it was really good. Madoka. Very good series. Things are not what they seem. So if you're not familiar with it, I will simply say that it's probably not going to be the Magical Girl series that you might think it is, without getting into too much detail. But it's good. Go watch it. Go read it. Then we have Lucky Star in Japanese. I think this is all that I have left from Lucky Star. Which I kept around because it was one of the first titles that I got started with way back in 2007. We have The Rampage of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is yet another Haruhi light novel. I haven't read any of the light novels. I really should at some point. ReZero, haven't read the manga, loved the anime. I need to watch the director's cut and season 2. Rent-A-Girlfriend I picked up just because people said the anime was good. Haven't seen the anime, haven't read the manga, so couldn't tell you. This is the reprise of Spear Hero here, which is a spin-off from The Rising of Shield Hero. Shield Hero's been great, so I'm hoping this will be a very hilarious spin-off. Revolutionary Girl Utena. The die-hard anime and manga community is probably going to burn me for this, but this is another one I haven't read yet. I'm sorry. Same with Rose of Versailles. Haven't read that yet either. After that, we have a non-manga title, but something that's still important to have on your shelf, the Sake Handbook. Following that, we have School Live or Live. I don't know how we actually go about it in English, but this was a really, 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 really good anime, which I should probably rewatch at some point. This should be an interesting book that I definitely do want to read sooner than later. Sharing a House with the Never-Ending Man. If you don't know what this is by Steve Alpert, who for many years was the only full-time native English speaker at Studio Ghibli in Japan. So for 15 years he worked directly with Hayao Miyazaki. So I am expecting this to be a really, really good read and look into Studio Ghibli. But I haven't read it yet, so I don't know if it is. Following that, She and Her Cat, which is another one of Makoto Shinkai's early works. I haven't read it, and I actually haven't watched the movie, which I really should, because it's, I think, like only 30 minutes long. It's one of his really early works. And then we have another one of the Haruhi light novels, The Sigh of Haruhi Suzumiya. And, at last, the end of Shelf 2, with the beginning of a series that you absolutely need to read, A Silent Voice. You can watch the movie. You'll miss some of the filler parts of the manga, so I would forgive you for just watching the movie. But no matter what you do, either read this series, or watch the movie, or do both. Because it's great. Really, really great. And now, Shelf 3. And so here we are at shelf number 3, which is on the other side of the room, which is why I cut, because you don't need to see going from one end of the room to the other, even though it's a short walk. But we have the rest of A Silent Voice, which again is one of the ones that should be on my Powell's shelf for you need to own this. And if I don't have it on there, I'm going to slap myself and definitely get it on there because it is great. After that, we have Sket Dance. It's a shonen series. It's an older one. I never finished it. I don't think it ever got translated to English for the manga. I thought it was okay. But again, I never finished it, so there's that. Skip Beat. Oh, man. This, by far, has probably been one of the most fun and best projects that I've had an opportunity to work on. Yes, I have actually worked on this series because I actually worked on the subtitles for the anime release when it was a Kickstarter. And that was so much fun. So much fun. Because one of the episodes I worked on was when Kyoko kind of acts professionally for the first time in the series where I believe they were at a tea house, but just the scene where she's being told that she's going to get into makeup. It took me so long to edit the subtitles on because it was everything I could have possibly hoped for when they animated that. This is a really, really great shoujo series. If you're not familiar with the concept of shoujo, it's series that are primarily made for a female audience, but I think this is great. And it's definitely one that you should own. Which reminds me, I need to see when the next volume of this is coming out, because the manga's still going, and it goes a lot further than volume 15. We're up to volume 43, which when I do eventually add it to my shelf, which I'm definitely going to do, it's going to far surpass Food Wars as the longest running series that I own. But this is great. And I'm not just saying that because I got the chance to work on it. But what I did actually was read the manga instead, because when I worked on this, I'd never actually seen the anime. I had no idea what this was, but the reason I bought into it was because the person running the Kickstarter was the same one that did the Time of Eve Kickstarter. And she was really good at it. So I was like, yeah, I trust your judgment. Let's go for it. I watched like 2 episodes of this because it was on Crunchyroll in just subtitled and fell in love with it. I was like, yes, you know what? I'm going to buy into this as much as I can. This is freaking brilliant. That said, buy it. Absolutely buy it. It is hilarious. And I hope that at some point they'll bring the anime back and they'll keep it going. Because I actually don't know where the anime ends in relation to the manga, because I haven't finished watching the anime either. I'm sorry. Following that, we have Skull-Faced Bookseller Honda-san. Haven't read it, but everyone that was a bookseller at Powell's hated my guts for finding this used because they wanted it. Because it's apparently really hilarious and really relatable if you actually sell books. Following that, A Sky Longing for Memories, The Art of Makoto Shinkai. That's all you need to know about it. If you like his stuff, you need to own this. I don't think it's on my Powell's shelf, but you can definitely find it at Powell's. Or any reputable bookseller. Kinokuni's probably got it. Snow White with the Red Hair. I haven't read the manga. I probably should because I loved the anime series, which I should definitely rewatch at some point as well. Something's Wrong with Us. Oh, this is so good. I have actually read Volume 1 of this because it was an ebook available at the library, and I read the ebook while I was waiting to buy this outright from Kinokuniya. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's good. Ooh, it's good. It's kind of a mystery title. It's really, 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 really good. Give it a try. Spy X Family. Have not read it yet. Have heard a lot of really good things about it, so this is probably going to be one of the ones I get into next. After that, we have Space Brothers. It's an older title. I never finished the anime. I probably should have. I don't think the manga ever got an English release. Steins Gate. After that, all you need to know, don't stick bananas in a microwave because you might make a time machine and CERN might come after you if you do. If you like the sound of that, read it, watch it, love it. It's great. And if you are typically someone who does not watch dubs, watch the dub of this. I don't care how much you hate dubs, watch the dub. It is probably the best dub you will ever watch. Moving on, Summer Wars. This is such a very interesting title because I saw this in theaters when I was at Drexel, I think in like 2011 or so. It's 10 years old now, so it must have been 2010. This is a very, very interesting title because the gist of it is everything in Japan is put on the internet and can be controlled from what's effectively an MMO. And in a nutshell, this is kind of, in a way, a warning from Mamoru Hosoda about what could go wrong with what in the tech world we call the Internet of Things. And so if you know anything about technology at all in detail, especially if, like me, you have a degree in technology, this, I would say, is a must-read or watch, preferably both, for you. And again, keep in mind that this came out 10 years ago, warning us about the dangers of networking everything before we started doing just that. Really, 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 really good. Sweetness and Lightning. I've heard great things. I have not read it. I have not watched it. Takane and Hana is another one that's a shoujo, but I have enjoyed this greatly because the two main characters are such polar opposites that it's just been an absolutely hilarious romantic comedy, or rom-com as they're more commonly known. Following that, we have That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, which, looking at it, I am disappointed in myself for not owning Volume 1 of this. I need to go back and get that. It's an isekai. It's been a hilarious isekai. Started with the manga. Was very happy to see the anime adaptation. As you can see, I'm behind on the manga, and I also haven't finished the anime. Yeah, I should slap myself for that. It also has a spin-off. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, The Ways of the Monster Nation. Obviously, haven't read that one yet. Tidy the F Up. I should actually read this because I started reading it in Palace because it was a recommended book, and I was laughing my butt off so hard that it was like, alright, screw it, I'm buying it. It's a parody of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. And it's a hilarious parody. Time of Eve, Another Act. Actually, I haven't read this, and I really should, because Time of Eve was a really good series. There's the official fan book. Both of those, I don't believe you're going to be able to get anymore, because I think they were Kickstarter only. But if you can find them, I'd say get them, especially if you have seen Time of Eve, which was great. I was really, really happy to see that get a Kickstarter for the actual movie, because it goes into more than just the anime did. After that, we have Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Haven't read it, haven't watched it. Preview was great, so this is another one that's high up on my list of to get to. Tokyo Babylon. This was pretty good. It's another Clamp series. Tokyo Ghoul. I've been liking the original one a lot more than Re. I should probably read more about Re and see where that's up to now. Tokyo Tarareba Girls, as I said previously, it's by the same mangaka that did Princess Jellyfish. It starts pretty good, but it goes downhill. And because of that, these three are probably actually going to get removed from my collection and sold to pals when things get back to normal, and if they have any interest in it. Tropical Fish Yearns for Snow. It's another Yuri. It's another one I haven't read. It was another book web recommendation that I liked the preview of. Tsubasa, I have not read. I own it because it's a clamp title, and these were like 50 cents a piece at Goodwill. Ultimate Bar Book. You might be wondering what in the heck that's doing there. Cocktails are a thing, my friend. And that's been pretty useful. This is Usagi Drop, which is Bunny Drop in Japanese. I do have a couple of them in Japanese, which, as you might be able to see, would eventually spell out drop if I had them all. Voices of a Distant Star. I haven't read the manga, but I did actually see the... I guess you could consider it an OVA. It's another one of Makoto Shinkai's early works where he did everything, and I mean everything, except for maybe the soundtrack, but otherwise everything. This is the follow-up. I have not read it. Another light novel in the Haruhi series that I haven't read. The Weathering With You novel I haven't read. I have seen the movie. I own the Japanese collector's release. I'm definitely buying the US collector's release. I don't think it was as good as Your Name. I think it's comparable to his other works, though. The Oatmeal's My Cat, or Why My Cat, is more impressive than Your Baby. I haven't actually read this, and I should, because The Oatmeal's hilarious. And I think this is one of the few things that I have signed, because if I remember, he was at Powell's Cedar Hill Crossing. Witch Hat at Layer. Oh my god. What a beautiful, beautiful series this has been. The art of it is comparable to a Karu Mori title, who again is the person who did Emma and A Bride's Tale. This has been stunning. And I actually recommended this to a colleague at work to read to his kid, because it is family friendly. It is so far, because I haven't read Volume 5, so I don't know. If it gets to non-family friendly, I'm sorry. But at least up to Volume 4 it is. Maybe a little bit for older readers, but it's a beautifully drawn series that is definitely worth a read and a buy. The Wise Beasts of the Wizarding Wisdoms is by the same mangaka that did The Girl from the Other Side. I haven't read this. This should be interesting because it's arguably the only BL title that I have, otherwise known as yaoi, or boys love, apparently. Yeah. Following that, we have another entry from Mamoru Hosoda, Wolf Children. Beautiful movie. The soundtrack, I think, was a little bit lacking. But other than that, great title. Woltakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. I have Volume 2 of that? I do have Volume 2 of that. I should get Volume 3, but it is super expensive, the manga. Oh my god. But it's been hilarious. I bought that because people said good thing about the anime. I haven't watched the anime. I think it's on Amazon. But it's definitely been very good. And unfortunately, I think it is something that you'll only enjoy if you are someone that would consider yourself to be an otaku. And if you don't know what that word is, you're probably not one. Down here we have more Broken Clamp series that I own. XXX Holic. I haven't read it at all, so I don't know if it's any good. After that, we have Yotspa, which, if you have kids, great series to get them into manga, if you want to do that. Very easy read, hilarious. you'll actually typically find this shelved in the kids section at a bookstore or at a library. So, yeah, it's a good one. Young Miss Holmes, I haven't read, but I picked up because it's supposedly very good. And Pals had these two at a reasonable price, and apparently this is extraordinarily difficult to find, normally. Following that, we have Your Name a few times, because we have the novel, which I haven't read, but the movie, of course, was very good. We have the manga 1, 2, and 3 in just straight English, and then these are also bilingual. Another side, Earthbound, I haven't read yet, so we'll see how good that is. And then finally, we have Yuri is My Job. It's a Yuri title. It's kind of a light Yuri title, but it's been very funny, and this I'm going to have to blur out in post, because all you need to know is it's the adult section. Which finally brings us to the last shelf, which we'll kind of go through a bit quickly, because it's the Oversized Shelf. So the Oversized Shelf is going to be kind of my most varied of the shelves, because it's not exclusively manga. There's a lot of other things in here. But the very top shelf of this is part of the reason why I haven't read all of the titles that I own. This is what I have checked out from the library. And that. And that. And that. Yeah, got a backlog there too. But if we get into the Oversized Shelf here, Alfred's Basic Adult All-in-One Level 1 for piano, back when I was able to take piano as an elective at Drexel. We have an Ori Emo art book here, the Aria guidebook, which you won't be able to get unless you had backed it on Kickstarter. Again, haven't read it, haven't watched it, I probably should now that it's all out. Art of Archer, how can you go wrong with that? Several of the Studio Ghibli Art of books, which I need to get the rest of, but these are rather pricey. Castle in the Sky, Howl's Moving Castle, Totoro, Art of Nausicaa Watercolor Impressions. There's a couple releases of Nausicaa just because what's in the movie isn't necessarily what Miyazaki originally intended it to be. It's also a manga series, which we'll cheat and go down there. The manga does not follow the movie, by the way. Art of Osamu Tezuka, Art of Pixar, Ponyo, Porco Rosso, Ranma, 1/2, Spirited Away, Box Trolls, Ariete, Yasushi Sunuki, or Sunzuki. Not really familiar with their work. It was in a locked case at Powell's, and it looked interesting enough. Some of the Calvin and Hobbes books, because you can't go wrong with Calvin and Hobbes. It's a classic. Becoming Steve Jobs. Haven't read it. Boy and the Beast art book. Bunny Drop on disc. It's in here because it's oversized, because it's got a book in it. Calvin Hobbes, Calvin Hobbes, Calvin and Hobbes. Card Copter Sakura Collector's Edition Volume 1. 2 Clamp art books, North Side, South Side. More Calvin and Hobbes. Dermod, which is basically the art of Evangelion. This huge, massive thing is designed by Apple in California. It's their design book. I keep it in the box because it's so freaking heavy. Here's another Evangelion art book, Alton Brown, Everyday Cook, because cookbooks are good. Adam Savage's Every Tool is a Hammer. I feel bad for not reading this because I actually got to meet him, and this is signed, so I should do that at some point. The Gravity Days art book, which is known as Gravity Rush here in the US. Great game. It's too bad the second one was essentially a commercial flop. Legend of Zelda, I think this is Hyrule Historia, right? Yeah. This is the art book of Hanazuka Iroha. This was a good title. I don't think it was a KyoAni title, but it was a good anime. It's an older one. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Haven't read it. Hatsune Miku art book, another Hatsune Miku art book, Hidden Hero. Haven't read this in ages, I forget what it's about. This is Hiragana Times. This was a neat magazine that I don't know if it's still in print or not. Randall Munro's How To. I need to finish this. It's great. Also had the opportunity to meet him to get that signed. Stephen Colbert's I Am America. More Calvin and Hobbes. Isle of Dogs. My actual Japanese textbooks from when I actually did study it in Drexel. Wasn't great at it. Joy of Cooking. Probably the only cookbook you'll ever actually need. I own it mostly because of the split pea soup recipe. Some Cardcaptor Sakura art books. Kengo Kuma, The Portland Japanese Garden. I should probably actually read this because I am a member. And I got to meet Kengo Kuma and get this signed at the Members Night. Beautiful edition, by the way. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Collector's Edition Guidebook. Down here, the Manga Guide to Databases. Yes, there's a manga textbook for databases, and it's actually useful. More Hatsune Miku art books, the Nausicaa manga. This was a very interesting find in the Japanese shelves at Powell's. This is an exhibition catalog for Osamu Tezuka. It's very cool. A Pixiv art book specifically for Madoka Magica. Various Pixiv books. They used to put out a book every year that was like the best of. I think it's too bad that they no longer did it, or do it, because they're actually very good. These are the Madoka Magica key animation notes, which are basically the storyboards and art for all of the episodes, plus the movie over here. And if you're noticing, I'm missing Volume 4, which is my biggest regret about this, because it's going to be very difficult to find now and very expensive, because these came with all sorts of extras. Like in here, these are all actually animation cells. Then we have Sailor Moon, the Eternal Edition, because Sailor Moon, it's a classic. More Calvin and Hobbes. Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki is actually kind of a biography. Very good read if you're interested in the history of Studio Ghibli. Steve Jobs, Porco Rosso, storyboards, 2 Haruhi Suzumiya art books, Randall Munro's Thing Explainer, also signed, Tokyo Ghoul art book, some My Neighbor Totoro sheet music, Transit Maps of the World, very cool book if you have any interest in transit. Clamp art book, Turning Point, is more of a collection of essays by Miyazaki. It's not as good. Wandering Sun, if you can find this, especially for under $100, which apparently is what it's worth for each volume, get it. Calvin and Hobbes, Randall Munro's What If, which is hilarious. Actual scientific explanations to absurd questions. Black Butler art book, Yoshitaka Mana art book, and finally, more Calvin and Hobbes. And that is finally it. Thanks for watching.